All right, top 5 moments DC Comics went too dark. I thought this would be an interesting list because one could argue there's plenty of screwed up moments or too grim moments in DC and Marvel, especially since you get so attached to these characters. When they do die or are hurt badly, it's really hard to accept or see. Today, I'm going to name 5 moments that I personally think might have gone a little too super dark and grim for people. This isn't to say I don't love these moments, because honestly, most of these moments I'm going to list I really enjoy, but the overall view of these moments might be a little too much for some fans. Let's go. Arthur Curry Jr.'s death. This one has to be one of the most known anyway. I didn't really actually know about it till I started reading Aquaman stories. It isn't easy to actually read. It's a general rule in DC and Marvel that kids, younger than 10 anyway, are usually safe from death. But this isn't the case for Aquaman's poor little baby son. When Black Mantis kidnaps Arthur's son, forces Aquaman to fight one of his best friends nearly to the death, and then too late for Aquaman to save his son because his son is stuck in a spear and dies, it's pretty heartbreaking. And the death actually has ripple effects for Aquaman and Mera throughout their entire relationship, and it's just a really brutal moment in general for comics, and very dark. The death of Kyle Rayner. Now, some might call this cheating because it's not in the main universe, it's in the Injustice world of comics, but honestly, this is one of my favorite moments, and also one of the most disturbing moments ever in a comic for me. It's just the way it happens. So, after the events of Injustice Year 1, Superman is basically running shit in the world. Like, he is basically the king of the world. That's when Sinestro decides, hey, I want to team up with Superman, but he has to plan things. He has to be in charge. So, he starts building this. However, as he's planning this event, before that, Kyle is returning to Earth to warn Hal and the others something is happening. In the regular canon, he might have just been taken hostage by Sinestro and be like, you're a bad boy, maybe a little bit of torture. But in this universe, when Kyle is like, you're not going to get away with it, Sinestro basically pulls off the ring for Kyle in the middle of space, suffocating him, and then Sinestro's goons or soldiers start ripping him apart from his arms and legs, separating from his torso in the middle of space. It's brutal, it's disturbing, it's hard to watch, and it's definitely dark, so this might be too dark for some fans out there. Coming in number 3 is Jason Todd's death. A classic, but a goodie. So, why do I put this death of Robin on here? Honestly, it's weird because I think Damian's death is actually far more heartbreaking and better done overall. However, I put Jason on here because I believe it shocked a lot of people. Despite the reason why he was killed off is people voted in. A lot of people know that they did a vote, do you want to kill Jason Todd? More people voted yes, so they killed him. But the way they went about it is brutal. Basically, Joker kidnaps him and brutally beats him nearly to death with a crowbar. So this is a famous scene. It's disturbing. You've probably seen it in the video games. You've seen it in the cartoons. You've seen it on obviously comics. So it is fucking disturbing. But that's not all. Beyond that, Joker then sets off a bomb that not only kills Jason's mom, but himself too. So it's a dark moment. I think for a lot of fans, this is truly a grim and dark outlook of DC. This is when it started to happen. But I personally like it a lot. I just think that for some people, this is like the turning point for DC of going too dark. Arsenal losing his daughter, going back on drugs, and beating up homeless people. So, my number 2 is a hard one to really comprehend. In the events of Cry for Justice, it's an event with the Justice League, Ollie kills Prometheus after what he did to Roy's child and the rest of the city. He basically blew it up and killed Roy's child in the process. In Rise and Falls, the events we get to see Roy, aka Arsenal, Speedy, whatever you want to call him, he's Arsenal at that point, spin out of control. Basically experience his daughter dying, he goes back on drugs, he messes around with his crazy ex and kind of like a weird rapish fantasy thing going on, and then he thinks that a cat in the middle of the alleyway is his daughter, and he starts beating up people that are trying to get the cat, but it's actually just a bunch of homeless people. Listen, it's disturbing, it's really hard to watch. Honestly, this is one of the ones on my list that's not well really done. It's just a moment on the list that is dark just for the sake of being dark. And it kind of sucks because the other half of it, Oliver's Green Arrows, half of this book is pretty good. But Arsenal's is just super stupidly dark. So, yeah, this one deserves to be on the list because of the events and how it keeps getting darker and darker. But it's not very well done. Identity Crisis. it's probably the most divided comic ever in DC, I think. It got to be up there in one of the highest. I personally love this comic, so I'm going to get that out of the way right now. Some will hate this comic, so they'll tell you that. So what happens here? First, we open with a murder. Sue Dibney is burned to death right in front of Ralph, her husband, and comes in time just to see her burning corpse. It's really disturbing. So that's the opening issue. So we already have that. But then we go back and learn the mystery of why she was killed, and then we get the flashbacks of her history. And if that's not dark enough for the opening, we learn that Dr. Light, who is basically just a fourth-rate villain at this point, brutally raped Sue in the Justice League satellite base. It's disturbing and fucked up, and the one place you think would be safe is not. Not only does that happen, but then they wipe away Batman's memory of it because they want to basically make Dr. Light forget it. So it's a whole big conspiracy. It's fucked up. And not only that, and this is the time when Tim, at the time was Robin, loses his father, and he actually sees it. He rushes upstairs, sees his father die, and then the saddest moment probably is Bruce grabbing him and saying he has him, because now he gets to raise another boy who is unfortunately an orphan. It's a super dark event, and some really can't stand it. Me, I absolutely loved it. I thought it treated a lot of these characters with respect, and I know it's in a darker path, but I really enjoyed it. But it is very dark, and sometimes too grim and dark for some people. So that's my list of the top 5 times DC went too dark. Yes, it's grim. Yes, they're not all great, but I think they stick out a lot. Like, these are the moments that you're going to remember, or the comic issues, or the events. But there's so many of them. I would love to see some more. List them below of the ones that really stuck with you, where DC went too dark. Whether you liked it or not, doesn't matter. I like a lot of these moments, but some don't. I want you to list some, and I hope you enjoyed this list, and have a good day.